I'm Jennifer Garner. It's good to see y'all again. I'm back, and y'all came back. That's exciting. Some of you still came back, even though I started this whole thing, so I appreciate you. I'm a counselor at Christ Counseling Ministry. I have been there for 16 years, and I did some other stuff before that, Red River Hospital, Helen Farabee, and working with court-ordered kids for 2 years before that. And, oh yes, and when I used to teach, I don't know, Jess, I don't know if you were young enough, Hot Topics, were you in my class? Did you see it? I taught her everything she knows. That's the sex education courses at our high schools, and I would make rap song parodies about STDs, and I was really good. I'm really good at it, so there will be a show, a post-concert, and I'm super excited. So if anybody wants to hear Big Pimpin' from the 90s, I'm your girl. So I've got some new ones too. I even did Despacito with Justin Bieber, but I made it in Spanish with STDs. I was proud of that year. That was really good. So anyways, let's pray, because obviously I should pray for us. Lord, thank you for these ladies, and thank you for our time, and thank you for the fact that we get to settle in together and do this and learn about you. And I just ask that your words are bigger than any of mine, and that you give me the wisdom of what they need to know, and just calm our hearts as we learn these things. In your name, amen. All right, so we've been doing this series on walking in wholeness, and it is all based on the Bible verse, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, all your mind, all your strength. And we find that one in Deuteronomy 6:4-7, Mark 12-30, Matthew 22:37-40, and Luke 10:27. So it's in there a couple of times, so it must be pretty important. And that's why we are focusing on it. We're just talking about all the different ways to notice ourselves, notice our personalities, how we interact with the world, different things about, why we respond the way we do, and how those all play out in our spiritual walk and how it all goes together. Anne had looked at the spiritual disciplines. Jamie had discussed our unique qualities that each of us have to offer, and knowing how to do those things well, and to know how you are and what you do so you can be mindful of it. And then I had started this series discussing the 4 main areas, or the boxes I look at when I'm seeing clients, and how those affect them. And I kind of use that as almost a treatment plan when I'm working with people to just make sure I'm paying attention to all of their areas. So I reprinted that on your little list here. And then if you are watching online, hi Shannon in California, I'm so excited, hi. She told me, this Shannon Cunningham, so sweet. She was telling me she was listening, so I'm giving her, everybody say hi. Hi. Okay, great, thanks. And everybody else, thank you. So on our 4 boxes, looking at your biology, your body, all the things that physically happen with your health. And that includes all your genetics, how you're doing with vitamins. If you don't have iron, I talked to you guys about last time I thought I was depressed and I had an iron deficiency. If you're not sleeping, family, like I said, family genetic history, age, addiction, all of those things. Your environment, that includes past pain, trauma, things that you're going through, things that you've been through in the past, things that even just like a car accident right now, that would be considered acute stress, and that would be your environment. If you're stressed about finances, more addiction, because that's also a behavioral thing and things going on in your life. And then personality, which is Jamie has talked about a lot. And then spiritual, just where you are, like stopping and seeing. And that, for me, working with people that don't come, or that come to my office and they don't have a spiritual background, I actually still work on this with them, because there's a lot of reasons for that. And I have to be mindful of the fact that they may have some hurt and some things that they're going through, and really trying my best to meet them where they are, to see what those are, and helping them move through that if I can. So that's what we started to talk about with me, and today we are going to continue with more on the mind. So once you kind of know those things, I'm going to start teaching you some really specific stuff, and it is kind of my favorite. Like, I am really excited about it. Hold on. Oh, on the boxes, I wrote one thing here, sorry. At the end of all this, just knowing, can you trust God with your boxes? Like, can you trust him with all of these things? And so as I go into this next part of teaching you about your health and your physical wellness, I want y'all to see how much all of these go together. I think y'all see it. I think you're going to see it on your own, how they all connect, and it's really, I don't know, it's kind of neat. I'm excited. So the bad thing about starting the first time and then ending it is I thought of all the things I wanted to tell y'all. I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them this, and then I'm going to teach them this, and all these things, and I got really excited. And then I just found out, you guys, that we got picked up for season 2. Like, we were renewed, and so I'm super excited. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but I get to teach you more, so that if you don't come back, we'll know it's because you knew, and that's okay. It's fine. I'm fine. So as I look through this, we're going to look at our mind and our reactions and how they're affected by stress. And I want y'all to keep learning about how you react, what happens to you when you feel a certain way, and so you can be present. And that word mindful that I keep saying, or mindfulness, it kind of sounds a little new agey, but it's not. It's actually just thinking about what you're thinking about. Just stopping and realizing, hey, I'm not in a good place. I don't feel good. For example, this is a really good example. I got one of those posture things. Does anybody else here have bad posture? And you do. Okay. So I'm not at Amazon. I don't have like a link in my bio or anything, but there's this little bitty tiny white posture thing, and you stick it on your back, and it's so cool. It sets up to an app, and then has anybody seen these? Oh, thank you. I was like, why am I finding these weird things? You basically put it on your back, you set it on your app with all your settings, and you stand up and you do all your things. And if you're like slumping for 5 seconds, it doesn't like shock you, like, it basically just goes zap, and it just gives you this little tiny zap. And you're like, oh, my posture's bad, and I don't like that. That's kind of how I think about mindfulness and how I think about all these things that I'm teaching you. Just stopping and thinking about, oh, I'm not in a good place. What is this? What's going on? And I'm going to give y'all, this is really cool because it has the chart. Y'all have the chart already. It's got a whole chart to it. So I wish we kind of had that in life. Like, oh, spiritually, not so great. Zap, oh, your vitamins are a little, it'd be so great. You want to know, though, like, if you really want to know what happened with this, my family was making fun of me, and they thought it was so funny that I got this thing, and they're like, oh, you're never going to use it. I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm like walking around the house in front of them, and I'm cleaning, and they're all just sitting down, and I'm just posturing up, doing all my stuff, being all fancy with good, solid posture. And all of a sudden, I'm standing at the table, and I remember I was cleaning out my purse, but I'm standing up so straighter than I ever have. And then I feel like, meh, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, wait, I'm standing up. My son, the 14-year-old, had got my phone, and he was just sitting over there going, just buzzing me. So I'm like, and I never put it on again, so, because I'm scared that he'll learn how to turn it up on me. So today's, has anyone in here ever heard of the vagus nerve? Okay, good. Yeah, that's what we're going to focus on. If you don't mind, for those of you who have, how did you know what it was? Ma'am, in the front, sorry to call you out, but how did you know?
I have a medical degree.
Okay, that would do it.
I was forced to learn.
Yes. Guess what they didn't teach me? Yeah, they didn't teach me that, and I've done almost 20 years and didn't know it until this year. So is that medical? Is that mostly how the rest of you know it? Brittany, did you know it from all of our counseling stuff? Oh, wow. Maybe New Mexico didn't teach good things. Has anybody not heard of it? So I can make sure. Okay, good. Oh, good. We're not alone. So we're going to talk about the vagus nerve today and why it's important and what it does. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about polyvagal theory. I'm going to tell you how I learned this stuff, though, because I didn't know it. I didn't learn it at my good old school, and they just never taught us. So last year, about December, I ended up in counseling. That sounds so dark, like I had to end up in counseling. How'd you get in here? Lots of things, man, lots of things. I ended up in counseling, and it wasn't my first rodeo. Her name's Lolita Baker. She's here in town, downtown. It's a nice little place, lots of plants, very cute. And why I ended up is because I had a few clients that had trauma, and she was more trained in trauma than I had been at the time. And so I was trying to refer people to her, and we were going to work with some clients together. And so we're talking, but it happened to be the day I don't think my family's ever going to see this. Here we go. It might cause some conflicts. Yay, holidays. They were coming. It was right before Christmas, and they were coming for like Christmas. And oh my goodness, like I was a hot mess. I am like running around the house, cleaning, trying to get everything together. I wanted it to be so perfect. I felt like it was almost like a panic attack. I was like just around the house. I literally ran into my couch and broke my toe. I'm not kidding. Like on the thing, like just bad. And so it was a bad day. And then I have to talk to Lolita so I can be super professional and refer her people. And so I'm talking to her and I go, you know what? Fine, just put me into. It's time. So that's how it happened. It wasn't glorious. It was like, fine, I give up. I'm doing it. And I knew that if I was feeling all that, I shouldn't just keep doing that. I was mindful. Oh, look at that word. So fancy. So I got in that way. It wasn't actually my first time in counseling. Some of y'all need to hear this part because some of you, I know it's hard and I get it. And I'll tell you why I get it. Because I went when I was little. My sister had seen something very traumatic. I won't make you all sad today, but it was very traumatic, something that a kid should never have to see. And so I think my parents took her to counseling like twice, and maybe not enough. But sorry, Jackie. But anyways, they had taken her, and we fought a lot, like so much, and it was bad. Like we fought like kind of violent, like we thought we were thugs. And the counselor knew this, and so they're like, bring your sister in. And I'm like, I'm coming. I'll come on in. And I'm like, He had us hit each other with foam bats. I was like, dude, we can do this at home all day. Like, I got this. Like, it wasn't, I would say that it wasn't really a good, session. We just beat each other up, and we carried that on later. So that was my first experience. I really didn't even know what counseling was. My second time that I avoided counseling was I was at Oklahoma State, and I was on the track team. And my coach calls me in, and she says, Jennifer, you're great with the girls, but you have anxiety. And I was like, what? No, I don't, coach. And your name's not doctor. And she said, yes, you do. You do well in practice. You do all these things, but then you get to the meets and you freak out. And I was like, fair point. She's like, we want to pay for you, like going to pay for me to go to counseling to get help with this anxiety so that I can continue to be an athlete at Oklahoma State and all the things. And I said, no, thank you. Not going. I'm fine. So yeah, didn't go. Like bad, yeah. I was like, if you can survive your life, you're fine. It's college by now, we'll make it. Then I get to grad school to become a counselor, and they said, you have to go. Like, you can't be a counselor if you haven't gone to counseling. And I was like, no, thank you, I'll be fine. Like, I don't have to go. It's good. Like, I survived all of it. We're okay. And then I go through my first 2 years, and then I get to CCM, where I work now, and Cheryl Berry. Does anyone know that woman? That woman. She's great, actually. She's wonderful. She said, I need you to come in like once a week, because who helped hire me, because I'd gone to like a secular school. And she's like, I want you to learn about, spiritual warfare more, demonic things you're going to see that you probably never saw, at the other places, or you didn't know what you were seeing. And so all of a sudden I'm on her couch, and oh my goodness, you guys, I didn't like it at all. It was bad at first. It was hard on me. Like, I didn't want to go. I didn't trust anyone, and I trusted her, but it was super hard on me. Like, I did not realize, and I think that gave me such a respect for people. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that's why they tell you to go in grad school. It gave me such a respect for the fact that you could sit down with somebody and hear their life, and that's a big deal. And so it really, really helped. And it was such a good experience. Like, I love her to death, and I learned so many things and made so many connections about anxiety, and it was just wonderful. So that's my little plug for counseling. So I go to Lolita, and she teaches me this stuff that I'm kind of going to go over with you. And I just want y'all to know how important it was to me. And it's why I was so excited to tell you all, because this has changed how I approach myself, and just I'm so much more aware of how I am. And I also use it with my clients all the time, like the chart that y'all have. And I'm so sorry I don't have a color copy. If you have colors, the top of that chart should be red and the bottom should be blue. And if you're on our viewing audience, I don't know what I'm supposed to call them. What am I calling? On our app, then you'll have it on Pinterest. Did y'all see that Pinterest link? Did anybody try it? No one? Well, you will later when you're learning all these things on your own. It's a whole link I made for you guys so that you can go in there, the one that Ann sent out, and you'll be able to go through and see all the different things. There's a bunch more on there. I'm not going to talk about all that, but you'll have, I think this is on there and a bunch of other things. So yeah, that's what we're talking about tonight, the vagus nerve and something called polyvagal theory. And I'm going to go through the very, very basics of this because I'm still new at it and I'm learning. If you guys have a question or if I miss something, I really don't, y'all just raise your hand. I'd rather find out and make sure I don't completely go over something because, I might. That could very much happen. So the vagus nerve, this is how I use it with kids. This is how I teach them. Do y'all remember these? I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Oh, you can't see it on here. I want the lights off. No, Michael wouldn't like that. Okay, so it's basically one of those that has all the little electricity things. Can y'all see it at all? This is like our nerves all day. They just kind of go all day long, and something happens. Y'all see? Can y'all see that at all? Dang it, my beautiful thing. Next time we do this, we're doing it in the dark. Basically, your nerves just go and they fire up. That's how I teach little kids what the vagus nerve looks like in their bodies and how they respond. So it's the longest nerve in your body, and it wraps around two sides. That's why they call this polyvagal theory. It goes into your heart, chest, all this area, and then it wraps around into your stomach. That is why when you get anxious or you're nervous, you feel that, and some people get really sick to their stomach. That's what's doing that, is that vagus nerve. So it affects just about everything. In fact, I didn't even know until I was getting ready for you how much it affects. Breathing, speech, swallowing, heartbeat, blood pressure, hearing. I don't know how. If one of you doctors wants to tell us. Taste, circulation, digestion. That's why it can make people have to run to the bathroom. Some people get that nervous. So gut health, bladder movement, fertility, sexual function, memory, just about every system is responding. Did I get most of those right, Doc? Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Would you just come sit alongside me? Thank you. So that can cause physical health, mental health issues, pain problems, memory loss. It's a big deal. So Stephen Porges, I believe I'm saying that correctly, he developed the polyvagal theory, and I believe it's the last 10 years-ish. Do you know? I think it's about last 10 years. I know that I asked the younger people at my office if they had ever learned it, and they said that they hadn't. They didn't learn it at MSU, so it's fairly new. And I had taught graduate theory at Wayland, and they didn't have anything on it. I read the whole book. I never saw it. So it's fairly new stuff, so you guys are going to be way more advanced than the rest of the people. It's so good. You can go and start just therapizing the world on your own. It's basically polyvagal theory, so now you know what the vagus nerve does. It's basically about the science of feeling safe. It's our reactions. So it's going to look, this chart's going to break it down a little bit better, but it's how you react to things that are coming at you. So our bodies are constantly looking for threat. That's what they do. They're seeing if we hear a loud noise, we're going to look. If a bear's coming in, you're going to do something. You're not just going to be like, bear. If you do that, we're going to have to talk because something's not clicking right. There should be something that happens. And it's so neat. Even with little bugs, if you go do something, they react. God made us so perfectly to react to threat. So that is what it's supposed to do. Fight or flight is what happens when you get nervous and you do something, and then the freeze, and there's another one, and it's on the Pinterest, but I'm not going to talk about it. There's freeze and fawn, and that's when you shut down and you're immobilized. So our bodies do all that naturally. It's through neuroception, and it's how your body just automatically reacts. There's 3 states. These are the big words. You don't necessarily need to know them, but I thought if you were a 5 on the Enneagram, you might want to. It's the parasympathetic ventral vagal. That's your true self. That's your safe zone. That's the middle zone on your chart. It's feeling okay, having the ability to deal with your emotions. You're movable. You may have a hard emotion or a difficult reaction, but you kind of come back. Or you may just be exhausted for a little while, but you can come back. It's movable, but it's a safe place, and you're supposed to stay fluid. Then there's the sympathetic state, and that's the fight or flight. That's feeling a threat or danger. Or you want to flee from danger, so you either want to fight or flee. And then the dorsal vagal, which is your blue zone, and I'm going to y'all going to love this because I'm fixing to quit saying these words, and I'm going to call them red for the fight or flight, and blue for the dorsal vagal. And that's when your life is like threatened and you are immobilized and you are shut down. So that's like what it looks like in a real accident, and your body does it instinctively. It's natural. So some people might be like, well, if that was happening to me, I fight and flight, I go. And like, not necessarily. Your body will do what it needs to. And so, like I said, those are big words, but now you're going to hear them as red and blue. It shows you that chart that I'm fixing to go over more. It'll show you basically it's what happens when you're emotionally unregulated. Okay, so here's how it affects every day. If there's a real threat, your body will go into that state automatically. So the yellow zone in the middle, that's called the window of tolerance, another name for it. I taught my 14-year-old, the one that shocks me, I taught him that, and he's like, window of tolerance. And I'm like, ugh. Like I was like trying to teach him why we had responses, and I thought it was a genius conversation, and apparently it was very mocked. So that's your safe zone. But here's what happens, you guys. This is why this is so important for everyone. Because this isn't, you're going to see in a second, this isn't just about a bear coming into the room. This is about how you respond to the everyday things. And excessive stress, trauma, whether it's early in life or something going on current, like I said, a car accident would be considered acute stress. Inflammation, sickness, mental health diagnosis, if you're tired, anything like that basically turns up the volume on all of your nerves, your vagus nerve, and you're in that window of tolerance that you see. Let me show this to the people just so they have I'm thinking of our people, like it's a little bit bigger. This window of tolerance is going to shrink because of all the things I just mentioned. So if you have a diagnosis, just things like that, it shrinks. And so that's really important for you to know, because if you're dealing, especially like for you teachers or anybody who deals with kids who've been in the foster system or anything like that, you know that they react differently. And it's because all of the things in their life have developed their brain to shrink, and they're going to jump into those zones more quickly. Okay? And so if you have somebody who dealt with a lot of issues as a child, then they're an adult, sometimes you're like, why are they responding like that? Their brain literally knows how to fight or flight or freeze more quickly. It did it early. So that can happen to anyone. It does it to all of us. Like if you're sick, think about that. Even, I won't go into it too much, but even things like strep throat and what it does to your brain body function. If you ever have somebody who has a lot of strep throat, I always have them look a lot for OCD type tendencies, just because they can get things like pandas at the very worst, which is an autoimmune disorder. Am I saying that correctly? So there's just so much that happens when you're sick and what happens with your brain, and it all goes together. So if you think back to those boxes I talked about and that you have on your table, those things like your personality, your physical health, your biology, like I said, trauma is a big one. You always have to know that when you're working with someone, or if you know anyone who's gone through a lot, that they're going to shrink quicker and they're going to respond. So their little window, I have to make the sound effects. So any questions so far? Okay, best example I can have. My family is definitely not going to get to watch this one, so nobody tell them. They live in Oklahoma. They'll be fine. The best example I have of this going the right way, like how it should go, is when I was little. This is great. I'm saying this out loud. Do you ever do that where you're like, is there people looking at me and I'm going to say this out loud? Yeah, we're doing that. I thought my parents owned a laundromat. And we were there all the time, and we cleaned it, and we worked there, and I was a real proud owner of this laundromat. The little plot twist is that we just worked there. I found out later. I was like, we own that place, but we just worked there. That's not the point of the story. That did not cause my window of tolerance to shrink. What did, though, is that my parents would let us just kind of hang out and run wild, because, it was the 80s. And my sister and I, she's 1 year younger than me, we were skating one night on the main street in Artesia, New Mexico. So it's about the size of Burke. And we're just skating up and down. It's dark. Like, who would let their kids, out of all of you, do you let your kids skate at dark on random streets? Like, I just don't. I don't even like to let mine go to the mailbox sometimes. So, we're just skating around, and a man pulls up. And I saw it happen. And I saw it all played out so quickly. He pulls up. He parks his small car, caddy corner, to pulls into the side, opens the passenger door, and he comes after us. And I remember everything. I went into some kind of weird, it's just one of those moments that you look back and you're like, how did that happen? I went into this fight or flight state, and my sister went freeze. And she hid under a bush, but he could clearly see her. It wasn't a good hiding spot. He was like right there. And she's like, no, 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 no. And I grabbed my sister on skates, guys. I promise you, this all really happened. This is not for the story, I promise. Grabbed her on the skates, picked her up, and skated her away, okay? Put her over a fence, ran through the backyard, got over another fence, and got back to the laundromat. And I don't know what happened. I never looked back. But I asked my sister about this before I did this with you guys, because I've never really talked to her about it. Like, my sister remembers everything that happened to us. She'll be like, you remember when this happened? And she's got some terrible memories that I can't remember. And she'll tell me I was there, and I do not remember them. So you can see how that probably looks like blue. So this is how I'm going to show it to you. When you go into red, you go into anxiety, you're overwhelmed, chaotic responses, outbursts, emotional, aggressive, anger, rage. You get rigid, you can get OCD. This is where people do a lot of overeating or restrictive eating because their bodies are just so on fire and they're doing something to try to bring it back down. They just feel so just charged, it feels like, that they're trying to bring it down. And this one, you really look for people who have addiction issues, because then when they go into red, they want that feeling to come, want that feeling to come down, so that it might cause addiction issues. And then impulsivity. So if you ever see little kids, those of you who work with kids, you know this, or have kids, you know that when they're in a bad place, they say things that they're not supposed to. Heck, I say things that I'm not supposed to in red. So they say things, do things that they shouldn't say. So can y'all see how red looks? But then in blue, it's basically like it says you feign the death response. You're like, not here. You disassociate, you're not present, unavailable, shut down, memory loss, disconnected, autopilot, no display of emotion, separation from self, feelings, and emotions. So you can see in that story, I go red, and I'm like aggressive, and I remember all of it. My sister goes blue, and she hides, and she shuts down, and she can't move. So when I called her to tell her, I told her I was going to talk to y'all about that, actually. And I said, what do you remember about that night? And she's like, Jenny, I don't think that really happened. And I was like, oh yeah, it did. I didn't just make that one up. And she's like, no, you always say that story. Or she says, you've said that story, but I don't remember it at all. So you see what trauma can do, or major fear and issues like that. And I just think it's such a good example for us, of what happens. And so that is a normal response, right? Even though we both did different things, our bodies responded. But the reason I like polyvagal so much is because it can be applied to everyone, because sometimes we're responding to things that we don't need to be responding to. Some of us are just a little wiry, and we respond more quickly, and actually all of you do it at some point. So don't mean to point fingers, but we all do it. Although some of you seem super angelic, so maybe not. Maybe you're just super. Is anybody a really calm person? Y'all aren't going to admit it. Okay. They didn't admit it on the app or whatever you're on. They didn't admit it, that they were calm. They didn't want to say. So your neuroception, like I told you, that's the way your body sees things. It is built in so that you can see what's going to happen to you. Well, some people who have a really, I don't know if the word wiry is good, but a smaller window of tolerance, those people will notice moods. They'll notice faces. You've got people who, it might be you or someone in your life that's like, why are you mad? Those people are always scanning. They notice social, what is it called? It's micro social cues. That word? No. Yeah, well, nonverbals, yes. I cannot remember the word. Yeah, just micro expressions. Yeah, and they'll see them all. And they'll so you do one with little kids, I'll check them like this. I'll be like, okay, show me or tell me what I'm feeling, and I'll just go. And those little kids are like, that. They see them real, real fast, and they just notice, and of course they're playing a game, so they want to win. But at the same time, I've noticed that there's kids who just can feel your mood. You probably have kids, if you have children like that, you have that one who's like, are you okay, Mom? Are you okay? Like those kinds of kids. That can just be their natural personality. But kids who've gone through a lot, who've been through traumatic things, who, let's say they had a mom who they never knew what her moods were going to be, or a dad, They learn to walk on eggshells. It's like every time they walk into a room, and then even as adults, it's like they walk in and just look for the landmines that are going to happen to them. They've done it since they were little, and they're trained for it. And has anyone ever heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score? Okay, it's a really good book. I'm going to make a disclaimer. It's a good book for learning about trauma and how some of these things and how your body stores trauma. But if you have a lot of trauma and things that you've gone through, you really need to sit with someone, not sit with somebody and read it, but make sure you're checking in with someone, either like a close friend or something like our group that we have here, Regeneration, or a counselor. Like, you want to make sure you're supported, because it can be very triggering, because you learn a lot from it. So those are some of the things that happen. And so so you can see how other people's behaviors in our lives, or how your brain develops when you're little, can make you react differently and go into these zones quicker. I think more often for me, it's like my spouse or my husband says something, and I'm like, "You want to go? Was that a fight?" And he's like, "No, it was not." And I'm like, "I saw a fight." I was like, we're not fighting. Okay, we're not fighting. Got it. Check. Or when your kids say one little thing and you've had a long day and you're just done and you've given all of your energy away and you can't handle anything that they do. Don't you have those days? Why are you smiling? Someone's smiling a lot. Smiley. I noticed for marriage, this one I really thought was interesting, and I hate being the best example, but if you can't tell, I'm a little more sassy, and I don't go blue as often as I like to go red. Red is my favorite. It's Christmassy. I like it. So I will get a little more, not aggressive. Maybe when we were younger and we first got married 21 years ago. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was probably way more difficult for him, but still, I'm the more bratty, sassy, voicey jerk, okay? He will go blue quickly when I do that. He never matches my energy. And it's really good, because I know that we would end up on a Walmart viral video on YouTube fighting, like, "You shut up, you don't know me." Like, I know that's what would happen, so I'm thankful to God. But I notice that a lot, like in marriage counseling, if you've got one person that goes red, a lot of times, and sometimes they will go, there's another red. So red plus red, not good. That's pretty red. But you'll have someone go blue, and then what ends up happening is the red person is almost feeling like the blue person doesn't even care. Like, I'm over here having all these feelings, and you just think I'm crazy, and they're over here like, and so you're trying to pull them up, and they're trying to pull you down. And can you guys see how that conflict happens? So it's good that you're different. They always say opposites attract until you get into these situations, and then they polarize. And so knowing that about yourself, I learned that. I didn't realize how much I ran like that. And it's embarrassing, but I was functional. I realized that I had been running on red basically functionally for my whole life. I had never healed from some of the horrible things that happened, and I was just waiting for something else to always happen. Now, here's the problem. It made me a decent counselor, because I was so in tune with people's emotions. And that guy, I forgot to finish my point, the guy who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, he talks about that. He says counselors, basically, you can see that a lot of them, you always hear they're messed up, but we've worked on it. We had to go, they told us to go. He said that people will basically train their whole lives. They've trained their whole lives to deal with parents or other conflict. And so then they're almost like just made for it. And so I was doing it, and it was going okay, but man, I'd get home. So I'd be in tune with people all day and working hard and being driven and trying to do everything right and all of the things. And then I'd get home and just be exhausted. And my husband actually told me one time, he's like, "I wish you cared less." And I don't know how to do that, but I can tell you that learning these things, and there's so much you guys can learn. Like I said, these are the basics, but learning these things really helped me not respond. And I have proof, let me tell you. I used to go to the car wash and be scared. Well, not scared, more, I don't know what the word is, nervous. And it was because when you first drive into the car wash and the guy's like, and I'd be like, I don't know what to do. And I would always like imagine in my head that I was going to go over the thing and then the thing was going to be like, "Bang, dang, 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 dang," and like get my car. Like that's how I thought that was going to go down. And you know, it never happened like that. But in my head, it was going to just, and like the whole car was going to be crushed in. And I don't even think I had any childhood trauma from that. And so that guy would be like judging me and I'd be like, and then I realized one day after therapy, I wasn't nervous at the car wash anymore. I was like, buddy, you're just doing your job. I am at peace. I'm not even stressed out that I'm going to die in that box. This is good news. So I learned how I function in red, and I was reading people's moods, and I was too nervous about even my husband or my kids taking things too seriously. Now, sometimes the kids need to get in trouble, but for the most part, I could have let a lot go and just basically walking around feeling kind of electrocuted. And now I don't. So you guys just got 6 months of counseling for free. Yay. You're on your way. When you think about yourselves, if you don't mind, since nobody's really looking, and I don't think they can see you, how many of you think you go more red? And how many of you think go more blue? Okay, about half and half. See, we could get along. That's great. Yeah, one time the counselor, I like her name, Lolita, because she'll ask me questions and I don't like them, and I'll be like, oh, Lolita, ugh. And one time she's like, were you red or were you blue on that? And I was like, purple. And she's real serious and sweet, and I'm not. And she said, what? And I go, red and blue, they make purple. I'm both. I have no idea. And I go, come on, that was funny. And she's like, did it have to be? And I was like, yes, it did. Yes, it did. Jerk. I'm like, ugh, Lolita. So she knows I do like her a lot. So yeah. So knowing how you are and knowing how she once told me all those little vagus nerves are walking around and running into everybody else's vagus nerves. And so knowing how you are and knowing how other people are doing and knowing that their responses are probably from their own things. And as you can see, it can be from a lot of things. We might not have to take it as personally. It's probably some stuff in their life. And it's hard. It's really hard to look at your life and your own issues and your own habits. But like I said, I can go to car washes now, so you can do the things that you need to do. I really had to pray through a lot, and it was a lot. It was actually when they talk about work. But you know what? You guys may not be as messed up as I was, so you're probably going to be fine. There's a fancy phrase with this that I'm going to teach you because I'm fixing to go into some things, like some practical ways to deal with this. But the fancy phrase is improving your vagal tone. You can do it as well. So yes, improving vagal tone. It's almost, I look at it as like a muscle that needs to be worked out. So if you always have the same thoughts and you always do the same things and you always have the same responses and you don't ever do anything differently, you stay the same, and there we go. But there are some tips to actually improve this. And now you all know that the vagus nerve is very important. Now you know what it can do and how it affects your body. And now you realize that there are ways to improve your vagal tone. I just want to say it I wish I talked like that. That would be so nice. So here are some things that she did. First of all, she told me, let me go to this page so I can show you exactly what she said. She asked me, there's something called resourcing, and it just means, Brittany could explain this better because she's trained in trauma, but it's basically finding the things you need, like self-care, is that what you describe it as? And like ways that your kind of go-to ways that you can cope with. So she asked me to come up with 5 ways to practice self-care. And mine, like the things that would help me from jumping from zone to zone, mine were breathing, writing, praying, talking, and stretching. Those were the ones that I knew that would help me prevent me from jumping from zone to zone. But if I was in red or blue, it would help me come back to the middle. Do y'all like charts? Do y'all kind of see it? Do y'all like to be able to put yourself on a chart? I just think that's so great. Just makes me go, there you are, Jen. Yeah. All right. So here's some basic things. Know your color. Just know if you're unregulated. Am I in red or blue? Once again, the word mindfulness. That's being able to stop and see that. And then also recognizing if other people are in red or blue. because they're all over their neurocepting as well. And that's not really a word, but I like it. So knowing like, hey, my kid looks like they're in blue right now. And if you're over here going, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And they're shut down, that's going to cause issues. Like they're going to probably, if you come at somebody in blue, they're going to go bluer. If you come at somebody in red, they're going to go redder. So yeah, knowing if there are other people are in that. And that leads me to my next point, which is don't fight or have big conversations if you're in red or blue. Nothing gets done. Well, nothing. You're either going to end up in a video online or Texoma's Most Wanted, and I don't want that for y'all, or you're going to not, if you're both in blue and you're not going to get anything productive done. So once you get good at realizing where you are, where other people are, you learn how to get back to where you need to be before you have conversations. I'll tell people, like my clients and stuff, like even I had some siblings in today and we were learning all this, and I said, just whenever they're being jerks to you, just be like, you're looking a little red right there. And it might make them mad, but you know what? It's better than saying, you're crazy and you're stupid and you're a jerk and like, why are you so mean? Like just kind of a way to point that out. I was on the phone, oh my gosh, talk about going red. I was on the phone with Ann one day, and my son, the 16-year-old, he was like, Mom. And Ann and I were actually having an important conversation about something we needed to talk about. It wasn't just gabbing. And he's like, Mom. And I go, hold on, I'm on the phone. Hold on, it's for work. Hudson, hold on. And he just kept going. And I go, seriously, stop right now. And I didn't care that she heard it because, she knows me. And he looked at me, he goes, you're just crazy, aren't you? You're just acting crazy. And I was like, oh, you want to go, little boy? I didn't say that. It was actually fine. I was like, go away. But that's better. Like if he would have said, Mom, you're looking a little red, that would have been funnier and probably diffused me a little bit. And then I could have grounded him for a week and that'd have been fine. Everything would have been back to yellow. It would have been great. The middle one was used to be yellow. So if you want to color it in yellow, you can. So the next part is deciding if you want people to be able to change your color. I said this is actually a natural response, like your body does it like automatically, but if you realize and you can kind of change the way you think, you can realize like, hey, I don't want someone to change my color. Oh yes, this morning I went to McDonald's and it was a good day. I was running on time. Everything was going okay. And the lady was so mean to me. I will not point out the McDonald's that she was at, but she was so rude. And my instant thought was, why are you being rude? I'm being nice. Like, I'm not even being mean today. Like, I'm being so sweet. And then in my head, I'm like, this is spiritual warfare. I know it. And just, my brain started, and then I was like, wait a second. She's tired. It's morning. Get over it. Stop. I'm not letting someone change my color. See how it works? It's really good. You don't have to let people do it. Do you guys, I can't remember if I talked about it, but I think I told y'all what neuroplasticity was the first time. And that is the ability for your brain to change. Like this is how I teach little kids, is basically we have these neural grooves in the way we think. And I teach little kids like it's like digging a hole. Every time you have a thought, you basically dig a hole. And we have mostly negative thoughts all day, and most of those are repetitive. And so you basically just dig yourself a little hole, and then the thought's like, this is my place. This is where I go. And I'll like do this with them because, they're kids and they like it. And so with that, that's like a neural groove. And that means you're going to keep having the same thought because that thought is comfortable. So neuroplasticity means that your brain can change the way your neurons basically fire, and you can change the patterns of your thinking. And so I basically tell kids, like, if you have this thought every time, like even what I told you earlier, instead of calling something, oh, they're so mad at me, oh, they're red right now, something's going on, that one little thought can help reframe it, and that just throws a little dirt in there. It like kind of fills in the gap. And then your brain goes, oh, we think differently now. And so it fills in the little gaps. And so that's what it is. I think it works for adults too. Your brain can actually change and you can get new thoughts. So when we talked about 2 Corinthians 10:5, demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. That's, to me, basically mindfulness. Just stopping, going, this isn't of God. This condemnation in my head, these things that I'm thinking about my past, the things I'm thinking that people are thinking about me, that's not truth. And I don't have to stay there. And so stopping and going, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to go to red. You can take it and you can actually apply it there. So your little neural networks will all change. Isn't that great? So good. You know what's really cool about it is I was thinking about this. God did this, and it's basically, I was thinking, this is how we have sanctification. Like, how could you be more like Christ and grow and be more like Christ when you are a certain way, and then you know Him, and the more you know Scripture, the more you hear sermons, the more you learn things with each other, the more you talk, like, you can change and become more like Him. So, yay for neuroplasticity. So good. All right, so I told you for you guys, or for you ladies, knowing things that work for you, I told you my 5 were breathing, writing, praying, talking, and stretching. And then I gave y'all a list, and if y'all want, Jamie, if you'll remind me to add this to the website for the people if they want it on there, because I don't think it's on Pinterest because I wrote it up. But the emotional regulation activities, that's on y'all's list, right? You'll have that on there too? Okay. So writing, oh yeah, let me show y'all real quick. This is worth the time. On the writing part, I have a little app called Colored Note. I don't want anybody to pick up exactly what it says because sometimes it's crazy. But it's this little app and it has all these different colors. And like I'll have like my to-do list here, but on some of it, it's just me being like mad and going just writing everything out because I usually have my phone with me. Sometimes if I'm in church on a Sunday, I'll just write in my journal for a long time and kind of recap the week on what I'm upset or good about. But writing helps. All these emotional regulation activities will help prevent you from jumping because they'll improve your vagal tone. You have to say it like that. I hope every time y'all read that, y'all think it like that, like in your heads. Improve your vagal tone. So writing, look up examples of self-care. It's a word thrown around, but there are so many good things. It's not, it's not just going to the spa. There's so many, and some of these are that. Healthy food, creativity. Is anybody in here, do you like doing arts and crafts? Yeah? Like you actually get joy from it. Does anybody in here not? Oh my goodness. We will analyze them, Kelly. Doc, make sculptures. So do some. Oh, ma'am, this one's for you. This is really cute. Yeah. I like throwing things at people. It's fun. So yeah, creativity, if that's something that you're into. But, let me, little side note here, not in the notes. Anything you do differently, anything you do, that's not your norm, actually helps. You know what I'm going to say, right? Improve your vagal tone, like anything you do. And it also helps with just stress. And so one of my clients had a head injury, and we have her doing calligraphy. But if you can do cross-stitching, anything that's different, it always helps grow your brain. So it's good stuff. Being in nature and having plants. Is anybody good at that? Ma'am, are you? I need you to, will you hand this to her? It's okay if you kill it. It's fine. Okay. I need you to take this because I'm bad at it. Yeah, you with the cute shirt. Here you go. Got some things for y'all today. Party favors with Jen. Thank you. Sorry to make you come up, but I'm afraid that I'll mess with the microphone. And have to redo this whole thing, and nobody wants that. Social connection. One of the resources I listed for y'all was the Blueprint podcast. Has anyone ever heard that before? He's smart. Why do you like it?
I found it when I was at work bored and needed something.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones when I searched for
Yes. He's so good. And I don't actually know if he's a Christian or not. I don't either, but he was talking about all the research, and it's crazy research, and he uses much bigger words than I will ever attempt to use with you people, because you will know better. But he talks about how community and church actually brings down stress. And I know sometimes on Sunday mornings it doesn't feel like that, but he talks about having that community actually helps you. So social connection, prayer, meditation, and the fact of just quieting your mind. And I know people say ooh, yoga is all this. For me, yoga is stretching. And so learning how to stretch your body and do things like that, all of that helps prevent and, grow your capacity to not jump into zones. Gratitude, these are all things, that's what I wrote at the end of this, these are all things that I think we all can see as Christians, that these help us. And knowing that having gratitude, is good. And so the whole world knows that. So we definitely know that. So writing down your things that you're, thankful for, laughter, exercise, being around pets, sleep, sunlight, especially now, another side note, it is now the time change, and so vitamin D is very important because of seasonal affective disorder. Some people will actually go into depression just for this little season because of this time change. So knowing those kinds of things, ask your doctor what prescription you should use for your vitamin D. These I brought for you. This is your new, this is what you get for people for Christmas. It's Jen's, what do they call it on the Today Show? The favorite things or something, or Steals and deals, yes. This is actually not that expensive. These are noise-canceling headphones for when I go shoot, but you can use them at your home. And so for one of my friends, her kids' toys make all these noises, and she's like, it's so loud in here. You put these things on, and everything is just quiet. So if anybody wants to try them out later, please do. They're great gifts for people who don't like a lot of extra noise, but reducing noise is one of the things that helps you. Singing, so obviously we can apply praise music. Music, walking. The walking one is cool because this is why. It's not just exercise, but as I'm fixing to show you in a second with your eyes, there's a lot that has to do with eyes. Walking, they say you naturally move your eyes back and forth, left to right, and that's one of the things that will help reset your vagus nerve. And so it's kind of cool. Jamie, can you come up here, please, ma'am? And you can look up vagus nerve resets, and then I'll show you a little bit more about cold therapy, but there's so much cool stuff with cold therapy. Like if I could just get one of those little, have y'all ever seen those little tubs that you like get in and then go right to like here and just put y'all all in ice, I would. I need you to, we're gonna show you some little hacks now real quick before I let you go, okay? And how many of you have TikTok? Not a lot of you. Okay, what about on Facebook? Can you save videos or like folders? I don't have Facebook. Okay, if you see things that you like on Pinterest like I did or Facebook, I just have my clients save them in a folder so that they have them if they ever need them. So they're right there. Because when you're in red or even blue, you're not going to be like, time to go find some things. You need your little go-to folder. So those are some of those. And now we're going to get to our fun hacks. The first one is going to do with the eyes, okay? So there's a lot to do with our vagus nerve and our eyes and how it's, all goes together. Anybody who has panic attacks, what they do is, you can just do it with me so you can be my little model. Okay. They hold their finger up. It's called vergence. They hold their finger up and like with a white wall right behind them, and they look from their finger to the wall, finger to the wall, finger to the wall at a comfortable pace. She doing it?
I'm having a panic attack right now doing that.
Sorry. So go over to that board and start doing it more. Just kidding, don't go. I need you for something. Stay. Okay, so that's vergence. So if you know anybody who has that, just tell them to look up vergence. There's videos on it. It's really cool. This next one is a vagus nerve reset, and I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry, lady, but you won't be watching this because you have a famous YouTube channel. But she does this really cool thing where you reset with your eyes. So what I want you to do is look from your right to your left and see if, kind of look and see if one side is tighter than the other. Okay, now lay down. I'm sorry, that sounded like a dog. Sorry. Lay on your back. Can we see her? Yeah, we can. Yay. This is way fun. Let's stay there and see how long we can keep her. So what you do, I want you to put your hands behind your head like that, and I want you to just be relaxed. I know it's hard to do that with all these people glaring at you, but you're going to keep your face up, and you're going to look to your right for 30 seconds. And I know we're not going to really do this. No, keep your face up. Y'all got watch my model. Your nose is going to stay in the same spot. Your eyes are going to go to the right for 30 seconds. So this is why we have a demonstration. And then I'm not going to make you do the full minute. And then you're going to get up and you're going to look to the left. And I'm sorry, you're going to come back up. That was my fault. And then you're going to look to the left for 30 seconds. Making sure you still breathe, because I think you stopped breathing and I might need to get some help, but we have doctors in here. And then you come back up. And you can sit there and do it as long as you want. But I learned how to do this. Now hop up. You're good. I'm sorry. Do this at home so you can tell everybody how you feel later. Okay. You do this, and maybe it's placebo, but it's cool because it does reset your eyes, and it is calming when you do it, not in front of people. But then you look like this, and it feels like one side's not as tight anymore. Like it feels like it gets a little, like you can feel the stress gone. So you all go try it tonight. And if it's crazy, it's crazy. But these are the things that they say. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your, yes. Yeah, grab those real quick because I don't want to run them too late. All right. with kids, if you have kids, if you're a teacher, if you have grandkids or little kids, there's a lot with co-regulation. And I don't think your husband or spouses or teenagers would like this, but you basically want to, like, you know, I said we're all little vagus nerves, walking around with vagus nerves. So if you can get them to co-regulate with you, then it's good. So one of the ways you do that is like humming. You know how it says humming is good? You get them to match your humming. So, you know, and get them to do that. Oh, that's the first time I ever had a musical anything come out of my face on a stage, because it is not good. So you get them to match that. And the other thing you do is you get them to match your, like you get them to put their finger up and go with you, like just getting them to do it with you. Anything you can do like that gets you to co-regulate. And then in playing tennis, anything where there's a ball back and forth will help you co-regulate with somebody, or ping pong. It's so cool. So sometimes in marriage counseling, I'll like give ping pong sets away for party favors. And have them as part of their homework. They have to play ping pong when they're fighting. And yeah, and it at least would be a really good video. So, but yeah, things like that. Huh? Well, it hasn't ended. Yeah, it could. It could. We just keep going. We just keep working. Okay, so did you get the index cards for them? Do they all have them yet? Okay. Let me see if I have any more of these for y'all. You got the ice trick. Oh, here's one more. This one's really cool too. You know, I was talking about cold therapy. Well, these are ones you can do at your house. Ice and frozen vegetables on your chest. How do you know all these?
13 years of
I love it. You know all the things. You're next. Get up here. Yeah, you know some stuff. Well, you learned it quicker than me. So putting ice or frozen stuff on your chest will help calm the vagus nerve. And one time my daughter was hot, and I just put her with her little vegetables on her chest. I think I told you all that. And then there's another one. I call it ice baptism, but don't do this to people. You put your face in an ice bowl, like don't do that. That's not nice. You like get a bowl of water with ice, and you just, if you're really stressed, you just stick your face in it and come back up and keep doing it. It really works. So you guys can do it. And then the last one on that, before I show you this one with the list, is called square breathing. And breathing is good, but if you tell somebody to take a deep breath, especially a young person, they go, it didn't work. You know, they're just like, eh. And like, you didn't really try. So with square breathing, you basically find a square anywhere in the room or a rectangle. And so you can teach kids to do this at school, but you do it too. And I'm going to use that board right there. And you start at the corner and you breathe in. I'm going to say for 4, just because it's easy. You breathe in for 4 seconds, but the main thing you have to do is hold your breath on the corner. If you don't hold your breath, it doesn't really work that well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go across 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And you get that down, and you just watch. So you don't have to actually point or anything, but anyone can sit there and look at it and. Y'all see? So I know you're all doing it in your heads right now. So there's some really cool stuff. The last one is lists. So she gave you paper. I think y'all have your little index cards. Did they make it up yet? Okay. So take a couple of these. I like flashcards because if you were to do this to yourself, you weren't going to remember. So if you had your little flashcards, you could use it. And here's how it works. Somebody is in a mood and they just can't calm down and their whole brain is fired up. You have these little flashcards with a kid or yourself, and you just start going through them. So the first one's going to say animals in the zoo. And you're going to list every animal in the zoo you can think of. Elephants, monkeys, lions. And you're going for logic things that tap into your intelligence. So animals in the zoo. I'm going to have to go pretty fast so I don't keep y'all. Ocean animals. Types of cereal. Lucky Charms. I'm trying. Y'all are going to have to help each other. Teamwork, guys. I'm not trying to put y'all in red. I'm so sorry.
I'll write them on here.
Oh, that's a great idea, Jamie. She's so smart. So, zoo animals, ocean, types of cereal. And you guys can make up your own. Anything that you can come up with them, especially if you're going to deal with your own children. Come up with your own little categories, any categories you can come up with. This one is count anything with math. So you can add some math ones in there. 11 minus 7. Count to 20 by twos. Really, especially if they're real stressed out and they're older, you want to do more complex math problems like count backwards by twos from 20. So 20, 18, 16. I don't know if I said eight articles of clothing. And I told y'all the one that you pick a color in the room, and with little kids, you can give them like a pom-pom. And you find every single thing. So so on your flashcard, pick a color. And then so you'd look for blue, and then you'd name every single thing in this room that's blue. Every Taylor Swift song. Could y'all do it? Y'all could have every praise and worship song, every band that you can think of. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? So you have these so that when you're upset and you're like, ugh, you either have them on your phone or you have them in your hand and you just go through them. So yeah, different sports. There's a bunch of different ones. So those are the little hacks, and I'm sorry I kept y'all, but like I told you, I was super excited to be here and show you all the things, and now you've had your 6 months of counseling, and you're all healed, and everybody's great. And I'm going to pray for y'all and let you go. And Lewis was just looking into the window. Hi, Lewis. We're all going to the movie next week, 6:30 sharp. See you there. So y'all can all tell him Jennifer said that movie's going to be so good. All right, I'm going to pray for you guys. I appreciate y'all being here. We'll let you know soon what we're going to be doing. Jamie, was there anything else for them? Okay. Lord Jesus, thank you for them. Thank you for our time. Thank you for just letting us have each other and knowing that community is so important. I just pray for them right now as they go into their lives again, and as they survive their days and they survive their memories and they survive the things that they have coming up in the next few days and for the holidays and all the stuff that we're dealing with, Lord, that you just remind them that you have it all. You have all of our boxes. You have our whole selves. I ask that these women are able to trust you more, know you more, and show you more to other people. In your name, amen.